What you are about to hear is a story that has been buried for weeks. A story that started inside a family, behind closed doors, in a conversation that was never supposed to reach the public. But it did. And what Meghan Markle's own sister said about her this week has sent shockwaves through every royal circle in the world. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your number one source for the most exclusive and most shocking royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because tonight we are telling a story that nobody else has the full picture on. And if you have been with us from the beginning, you already know. We never hold back. We never pull back. Let us get into it. Samantha Markle has said many things about her half-sister over the years. She has given interviews. She has written a book. She has appeared on television programs across Britain and America and said things about Meghan that have been defended by some and condemned by others. She has been called bitter. She has been called attention-seeking. She has been called a woman using her sister's fame to build her own profile. And Meghan's supporters have largely dismissed everything Samantha has ever said as the words of a woman who was never close to Meghan and who has an agenda. But what Samantha said this week is different. Because this time it is not about palace drama or royal protocol or who did what to whom at a family gathering. This time it is personal in a way that goes deeper than any of that. This time Samantha Markle looked into a camera and said something about her sister that women across the world are reacting to with a mixture of shock and recognition and complicated emotion. She said that Meghan is aging, that the stress of the life she has chosen is showing on her face and in her body in ways that cannot be hidden. That Meghan Markle, the woman who the world watched walk down that aisle at Windsor Castle looking like the most radiant woman alive, is starting to look older than her years. And that the life she is living, the pressure, the public battles, the estrangement from her father, the legal cases, the constant scrutiny, is the reason why. This is Royal Daily Report. And tonight, this is the story of Meghan Markle, her sister, and a comment that has started a conversation that nobody in the royal world was prepared for. Let us start with exactly what was said, because precision matters here. Samantha Markle gave an interview this week in which she was asked about Meghan's current public appearances, about the lifestyle brand, about the Netflix content, about the events Meghan has been attending in California. And Samantha, who has never been known for choosing her words carefully, said something that immediately clipped across social media and landed in every royal conversation happening anywhere in the world. She said that when she looks at her sister now, she does not see the Meghan she grew up with. She said that the stress of the last several years, the royal family, the press, the legal battles, the public feuds, has aged Meghan significantly. She said that Meghan looks tired in a way that goes beyond physical tiredness, that she looks like a woman who has been carrying too much for too long. And she said, with the particular cruelty that only a family member can deploy, that Meghan now looks older than her actual age, that the life she chose is written on her face. Those words, older than her actual age, they landed like a stone dropped into still water, and the ripples went everywhere. Because here is the thing about what Samantha said. It exists in two completely separate conversations at the same time. The first conversation is about Samantha herself, about her motives, about whether a half-sister who has had a publicly difficult relationship with Meghan for years has any standing to make these observations, about whether this is genuine concern or calculated cruelty, about whether someone who wrote a book about their famous half-sister and has given hundreds of interviews about her over the years has the right to stand in judgment of how that sister looks and how that sister has aged. And in that conversation, Samantha does not come out well. She never does. Because the history between these two women is too complicated and too public and too clearly weighted toward animosity for anything Samantha says about Meghan to be received as coming from a place of love. But the second conversation is more uncomfortable and more honest, and it is the one that people are actually having in private even if they are reluctant to have it in public. Because the question of whether the life Meghan has lived over the past 8 years has taken a visible toll is not a question that requires Samantha Markle to answer it. It is a question that the photographs answer. And the photographs tell a story that Meghan's supporters and Meghan's critics are both, in different ways, having to reckon with. Meghan Markle is 44 years old. She entered public life as a royal in 2017. And between 2017 and today, she has lived through things that would age anyone. She entered the most scrutinized family in the world and was met, by her own account and by the accounts of people who were inside that institution at the time, with a level of hostility and press brutality that was genuinely extraordinary. She has spoken publicly about her mental health during that period, about how dark things became, about reaching a point where she did not want to be alive. Those are not small things. Those are the kinds of experiences that leave marks. Not just emotional marks, physical ones. The kind that show up in the face and in the body and in the way a person carries themselves when they think nobody is watching. And then after leaving the palace, there was no rest. There was the Oprah interview and the documentary and the memoir and the legal cases and the security dispute and the estrangement from Harry's family and the ongoing press attention that has never, despite everything, actually gone away. Meghan has not had a quiet moment since she became famous. Not one. Every project she launches is scrutinized. Every appearance she makes is photographed and analyzed. Every choice she makes about how she looks and what she wears and how she presents herself is subject to a level of commentary that most people cannot even imagine living under for a single week, let alone 8 years. So when Samantha Markle says that Meghan looks tired, that the stress is showing, that she looks older than her years, the uncomfortable truth is that this is not necessarily wrong. It may be accurate, and the fact that it is Samantha saying it, the half-sister with the book deal and the television appearances and the long history of public animosity toward Meghan, does not automatically make it untrue. It just makes it cruel. And those two things can exist at the same time. Something can be both accurate and cruel, both true and said with the worst possible intentions. And that is exactly the territory this story is sitting in. Meghan's supporters have responded to Samantha's comments with the predictable fury. They have pointed to Samantha's history. They have questioned her motives. They have noted that Samantha has built an entire public profile on being the sister of a famous woman and that every comment she makes about Meghan, however it is framed, serves that profile. They have shared photographs of Meghan looking radiant and healthy and undeniably beautiful at recent public events and said that Samantha simply does not know what she is talking about. And in the narrow, literal sense, those supporters are not wrong. Meghan at 44 is still a strikingly beautiful woman. The photographs show that clearly. But beauty and aging are not the same conversation. And what Samantha was pointing to, whatever her motives, was not whether Meghan is beautiful. It was whether the life Meghan has lived is visible in ways it was not before. And that is a conversation that requires a different kind of honesty, the kind that Meghan's supporters are less comfortable having. People who have spent time with Meghan in the past year describe someone who is more guarded than she used to be, more careful, more deliberate about what she shows publicly and what she keeps private. This is not surprising. It is what happens to people who have been burned repeatedly by trusting too much, who have opened up and had that openness used against them, who have learned, through painful experience, that vulnerability in public has a cost. But that guardedness, that protective wall that Meghan has built around herself, is also, according to sources, something that takes a toll. Maintaining a wall is exhausting. Staying careful is exhausting. Being permanently alert to how you are being perceived and what might be taken out of context and what might become tomorrow's headline is a level of mental and emotional labor that most people never have to perform. And it shows, not in obvious ways, but in the small ways that people who are paying attention notice. Harry has noticed. Sources close to the couple describe Harry as someone who is acutely aware of what this life has cost Meghan, who has watched her navigate the past 8 years with an admiration that is genuine and deep, who knows better than anyone what she has been through because he was there for most of it, and who also carries, according to those same sources, a complicated guilt about the fact that much of what Meghan has been through is a consequence of loving him, of choosing him, of walking into a situation that she could not have fully understood when she walked into it. Harry did not create the British press or the royal institution or the racism that Meghan encountered, but he was the door through which all of it entered her life. And he knows that. Samantha Markle does not know that, does not know what those years were actually like from the inside, does not know what Meghan has carried or what Harry has watched her carry or what the private cost of the public life they have lived has been. Samantha knows what she sees on television and in photographs and in interviews, the same information everyone else has. And from that limited vantage point, she has made a judgment about her sister's face and her sister's aging and her sister's life choices that is simultaneously presumptuous and in its own uncomfortable way, not entirely without a grain of observation. Because the photographs do show something. The years do show something. And pretending they do not because the person pointing it out has bad motives does not make the observation disappear. What this story is really about, underneath the Samantha headlines and the social media fury and the debates about motives and credibility, is something much larger. It is about what it costs a woman to live her life in public, to be watched and judged and photographed and commented on every single day for years, to have her face analyzed and her body discussed and her choices dissected by people who have never met her and who feel, somehow, that proximity to her image gives them the right to have opinions about her skin and her weight and the lines around her eyes. It is about the particular cruelty that the world reserves for famous women as they age. The way that aging in a man is described as distinguished and in a woman is described as tired. The way that the visible marks of a life fully lived, of stress and grief and love and struggle and survival, are counted against women in ways they are never counted against men. Meghan Markle has survived things that would have broken most people. She has come out the other side of a palace that failed her and a press that targeted her and a family estrangement that is still unresolved and a public life that has never once been uncomplicated. And she has come out the other side still standing, still building, still showing up, still launching projects and giving interviews and being present in a world that has given her every reason to disappear. And if that survival is written on her face in ways that Samantha Markle wants to call aging, then those lines, those marks, that visible evidence of everything Meghan has been through, are not a flaw. They are a record. They are proof that she was here, that she fought, that she did not disappear, that she survived. Samantha Markle will give more interviews. She will say more things. She will find more angles on her half-sister's life to comment on and more platforms willing to give her the space to do it. That is the pattern, and there is no reason to believe it will change. But what will also not change is this. Meghan Markle at 44 is still here, still building, still choosing every single day to show up in a world that has made showing up extraordinarily difficult. And whatever Samantha sees when she looks at her sister's face, the stress, the tiredness, the years, what the rest of the world sees when they look at Meghan Markle is a woman who went through fire and did not burn, who was broken in ways the world watched, and who put herself back together anyway, who looked like the most radiant woman in the world walking down that aisle at Windsor, and who still, 8 years later, after everything, has not stopped walking forward. That is not aging. That is survival. And survival, however it looks on the outside, is always beautiful. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story moved you tonight, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already and turn on those notifications because we are here every single week with the stories that nobody else will tell the full truth about. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends.